Welcome back to the Tea Coffee and Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Matthew.
I'm Jacob.
Today we're going to go over our Week 7 predictions. It's currently Saturday, October 24th.
Yeah. I guess first, actually, maybe let's talk about Thursday night, quote unquote, football.
Yeah,
That was Giants Eagles, and that was the game where Daniel Jones infamously fell down on what should have been a 92-yard touchdown run.
fun fact. Do you know how fast he reached on that run?
I saw it was like 21 miles an hour.
Yeah, 21.3 miles, which is faster than any quarterback in the past 3 years. So, Daniel Jones got wheels.
Yeah, that even though he tripped, he still logged 80 yards on the run, which is, I believe, longer than Saquon Barkley's career long.
Yeah, it's impressive, but otherwise, the Giants' offense was disappointing again. What was the final score? It was they only scored 21 points. It was just I don't know, just a bad matchup. Carson Wentz, I guess he came back. He had a decent game. Boston Scott had a pretty good performance.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz he's a really good quarterback, but he's inconsistent. I mean, he's great, but he could seriously be elite. He couple dumb mistakes in the second quarter, but the game winner he had to Boston Scott was a beautiful throw. One of the most clutch throws of the year. On one hand, it's against the Giants, but I mean, he was still really impressive down the stretch of that game.
So I guess talking about Boston Scott, he did pretty good at 18 points, and Sanders next week may be out. So do you think Scott against who are they playing week 8? Scott against the Cowboys will be a must start because the Cowboys we know are a terrible defense.
With how bad the Cowboys are, just start anybody against them. That team is, especially that defense, is bottom 2, bottom 1 probably. Just a joke.
Yeah. So yeah, Sanders I would start next week. Must start. He's just good. He's kind of slept upon, especially with Sanders there. But yeah, he's a good start next week.
Also, Travis Fulgham is.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about him.
Yeah, he's good. He did drop a touchdown this game on a dime from Wentz near the end of the half, I believe. But Wentz seems to trust him. He plays pretty physical. He attacks the ball, and I don't see his production dipping anytime soon.
Yeah, especially with Alshon Jeffrey or not Deshaun Jackson. He got hurt again, so him and Greg Ward are the only wide receivers there, and he's gone up. I'm trying to find the exact stat, but he's gone up against really good cornerbacks. Here you go. He had Joe Hayden, Harrison Smith, and James Bradbury, and those are all good cornerbacks. And produced as a rookie into them. I kind of have Adam Thielen vibes from him as an undrafted player who's kind of becoming something.
Yeah, he's a scrappy physical guy. I mean, I think Thielen just has really good I think Thielen has better hands, but
I'm not comparing. I'm just saying they're both undrafted free agents who've really come out of nowhere and kind of seized the starting job.
Yeah, and again, Wentz seems to trust him. Wentz seems to be trying to play hero ball a lot of the time, which has led to some bad performances early this season. But with a guy he trusts, I think things are also turning up for Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm. So I guess this is the other big fantasy news. Antonio Brown signed to the Bucs, and now the Bucs are their offense is just goated. It's Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones. What is your first take on
this? I will not be cheering for Antonio Brown, not just because as a football fan, but also because I have Chris Godwin in Godwin will actually still be more relevant than Mike Evans, just because he and Brown will get open, and Mike Evans will also be I don't want to say he just is a jump ball, but more of a deep threat.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say that I don't think Godwin's gonna take us right because he's more of a slot receiver, so he's still gonna get a lot of his volume. But I think who's gonna take the biggest threat is Mike Evans because we've already seen before. I think it was like 41% of Evans' points were off of touchdowns, which is super unsustainable. And when you couple in, like I wasn't high on him before Antonio Brown, and then when you couple in like a top 10 receiver joining the fray, it's like, and they do the same thing, or like they're very similar roles, and it's like I don't trust Evans anymore, especially in his value. So I would trade him as much as I could.
Yeah, I'm not even entirely sure whether AB or Godwin are going to be wide receiver one. I don't know if AB has lost a step and he'll need time to get up to speed, which I imagine will happen.
Yeah.
But just for the next few weeks, I would maybe still say Godwin would be their wide receiver one.
Yeah, I think Godwin will get most of the snaps in the slot for sure. And then I don't know. I don't think Antonio's gonna have an effect for like a few weeks, I guess, because he's gonna get adjusted to the offense. But I don't know. I think after a few weeks, he'll become a solid flex play.
Right. Tom Brady's so spoiled.
Oh yeah, he's like Mahomes, honestly, taking everything.
I mean, like at least, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still like top. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Brady, I would still say he's at like number 5.
No, you cannot say that.
I don't. I mean, what really makes Brady close to elite, I wouldn't call him elite anymore, is what has he really lost? He hasn't lost. He's not inaccurate. He's still very accurate vertically, and I feel like most of his problems still just come from miscommunication with the offense. Look, I root against Brady, but even I can't deny that he's still playing great football.
I guess. I don't know. I just don't think he's the same Brady as we've seen before. And like, there's so many other good quarterbacks. I'd probably have him like top 15, but like, I don't know. He's been spoiled, like you said. We can't really tell how good he is.
Well, he wasn't. My argument is that he was spoiled with a good defense for pretty much his entire career. He's also got an amazing defense now, but last year in New England, after ironically Antonio Brown left, they really didn't have anybody. But Brady still processes the game at elite level. Pretty much 99% of the time makes the right decision.
That's true, but like against the Bears, he lost. Like he didn't know what he was doing. He forgot it was 4th down.
True. But where Brady, what separates this a tangent, but what separates the Bradys from the Jimmy Garoppolos is ball placement downfield. I trust Brady to fit the ball where he wants down the field if he feels he can, even without an exceptional arm. Garoppolo has been incredibly sporadic.
I mean, Garoppolo's a game manager. He's not a quarterback. He's a game manager, and he's fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's smart. He processes things in the short game, but I guess we'll get to this when we talk about, ironically, 49ers Patriots, that I'm getting close to being out on Garoppolo as a franchise quarterback.
I am too. I don't know. I was just thinking about this in general because like a lot of starting quarterbacks are going to be replaced in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Especially both of like they suck and that they're getting older and replacements need to be drafted.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about? I guess some games this week.
I guess we can start with Lions Falcons.
Okay. Who do you have winning?
I actually didn't pick a winner. Well, okay, I need to phrase that a little differently. I did not choose a winner to this football game, partly because I honestly don't think it matters that much because neither of these teams are making the playoffs. The Falcons are probably going to go 6-10 and lose out on Trevor Lawrence. And the Lions will probably, again, also go 6-10 and lose out on Trevor Lawrence. I still
That's
think
true.
if you put a gun to my head, though, I would probably say just Falcons.
Yeah. I guess in fantasy, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a field day for Julio and Galladay and Ridley because, first of all, the Falcons suck at covering wide receivers in fantasy, and second of all, Ridley they're not going up against good receivers at all, and good cornerbacks at all. So I think for those three wide receivers, it's gonna be a good game for them.
Yeah, this strikes me as just a game that feels kind of just soft.
Fair.
Neither of these defenses are very good. Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones will probably be running free. Kenny Galladay will probably dominate. Good game fantasy wise, but just in terms of the broader scope of the NFL, not that inspiring.
Yeah, just not. I don't think any values are gonna change like drastically because of this game. Because like I don't think you want to start anyone who you're normally not going to start.
Yeah, that's true.
Like maybe, yeah, I don't know. Would you start Hawkinson?
I still would. Hawkinson's come along in year 2. I actually picked him up in our league, and he's been solid. He may be like if he's your backup tight end, I think that's good. He's been the number 12 tight end in PPR format this year. I think
yeah, it isn't that bad.
I think he's come along, and I would be pretty optimistic if I had him in a dynasty league.
Yeah. This may be the match of the week, but Steelers-Titans, and just a fun fact. I think this is the 8th time that 2 5-0 teams have played, and every time the winners made the Super Bowl. So big stakes. What's your take on this game?
My goodness. This one was tough for me to pick, and again, just really compelling arguments for both sides, but I do think this will be a scrappy, low-scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I have the Steelers winning. They're two teams to me that are maybe just a cut below the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are the team that everybody is trying to knock off. We have to stop a football god incarnate, Patrick Mahomes. They're one of these both these teams are a group of about 5 or so. They're kind of jockeying for position behind them in a race, so to speak.
Yeah, and you think both of them are in that? Both the oh my god, both the Steelers and the Titans are in that tier.
Yeah, right now I have the Steelers winning 20-17, and that's just because I think they can stuff Derrick Henry and put pressure on Ryan Tannehill. Because Ryan Tannehill's been really good this year, but he hasn't been under that much pressure from what I've seen.
Yeah, I guess about Tannehill, I'm not high on him at all this week, so I would not start him if I had the chance, just because I guess first of all, Taylor Lewan, who's the Titans' best lineman's out, so that hurts him. And second of all, the Steelers' defense, that's suffocating. That's like their front seven is just it's amazing. And it's like I know they lost Devin Bush, but I think Tannehill is gonna be under pressure all game, and I would not want to start him.
Yeah, and also I would not start Derrick Henry either because I just saw a stat today that the Steelers have allowed 2.2 or something adjusted net yards at the line of scrimmage, which is insanely low. That's basically saying they allow 2.2 yards per carry unless something kind of wacky happens.
I don't know. When you said I wouldn't start Henry, I mean, can you clarify what that means? Because I would never bench Henry, no matter how bad the matchup is.
Well, maybe I was too hasty. I shouldn't say I wouldn't start him, but if you're in like a 4-team league, I would probably bench him.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he was great last week against the Texans, and we'll get to this when we talk about the Texans later. The Texans have a horrible run defense. As good as the Steelers are, the Texans are equally as bad.
Yeah.
So Derrick Henry will not be rushing for 200 yards. I think that's fair to say.
But I think James Conner is a must start because he's been doing great the past few weeks. He's been getting like 20 points every week. And the Titans defense, they allow, I think, 25 points to running backs a game. So coupled with the fact that Conner gets the workhorse load and the fact that the Titans give up a lot of points, I think it's gonna be a good matchup for him.
Yeah, Connor's a good start this week. He's just, as long as he's healthy, he's a safe, solid start. He'll probably rush for 80 yards, catch a few passes, and just through volume, produce starting caliber numbers. Although one thing to note, I'm not sure how this will affect their running game, but their fullback Derek Watt is injured.
Wait, Watt's on the Steelers now?
Derek Watt, yeah.
I thought he was in the chart. Oh, wow. I did not pay attention.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize he was on the Steelers till now, too. He's with his brother, TJ.
Yeah. I guess do you want to talk about a few more games before we have to go?
Yeah. I do want to. I want to maybe touch on the Cowboys Washington a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Well, probably if you're not in the area, you'll probably be forced to watch it anyway.
Oh yeah, what time? 1, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. First of all, what's your takeaway from Andy Dalton's first game last week? It was rough. What's your takeaway?
I want to defend Andy Dalton a little bit because people seem to think he was like horrific. I don't think Dalton was horrific. He wasn't good. But I think there was a lot of stuff out of his control that even if Dak was in, I still think they lose by about 3 scores. Zeke fumbled twice. The quarterback can't control that. And once they're down in the hole, maybe Dak would put up some more garbage time numbers. But I mean, they lost that game pretty much no matter who the quarterback was.
Yeah, and what's his name? Zach Martin's out again with a concussion. So his entire offensive line was out, and it wasn't. The Cardinals were getting to him, and he didn't have much time at all. He could have done better, but still, shouldn't be blamed.
Yeah, I still think he could produce with some solid weapons because the weapons have been pretty much the lone bright spot this season for the Dallas Cowboys. Michael Gallup is a beast. Amari Cooper's still really good, and CeeDee Lamb is making a case for seal of the draft. He is amazing.
I don't know. I don't think Dalton can support all of them, as we kind of found out last week.
I mean, it's tough to tell because there might just be these underlying culture issues, and without Dak, the leader, that continuity, they just fell apart now. It's tough to tell what the cause for last week's performance was. I mean, simply, they're playing like a bottom 5 team in the NFL right now. I'm not even entirely sure how much better they are than Washington.
But I don't know. I mean, if you're starting Dalton, you're kind of screwed anyway. But I would not, even in a super flex league, I wouldn't really start him this week because the front 7 of Washington is actually sneakily good.
Oh no, they're really good. They have Montez Sweat was a first-round pick last year. He's a beast. Chase Young, who I believe will be playing this week, who was people were saying he was the best edge rusher to come out of the draft since Julius Peppers, basically.
Ooh. But yeah, I guess a must start in this game is Antonio Gibson. He's been good, and the Cowboys defense, it's terrible. It's absolutely the worst defense I've ever seen in my life. So like Gibson, start him. He's gonna destroy the Cowboys.
Also, let me see what other running backs they have on the roster, because I do feel like
They
this
have
is also a week where they give up more than 100 yard rushers. I would not be surprised at this point.
They have J.D. McKissick, who's like a more fast-paced running back.
He's a receiving guy, and
Yeah,
they still have Peyton Barber, who's not doing a lot. Yeah, just start Gibson.
and I guess the last thing we could talk about is the Bears. They are playing the Rams, and do you think the Bears are legit or not? Because we were thinking that, and then they go out and beat the Bucks. So like, what's your thoughts on them right now? We kind of talked about this before, but
I'd almost argue they shouldn't have beat the Bucks. That game just felt like an either or, and the team that won, even if it was the Bucks, it's not like, okay, this is some big win. It's just kind of a scrappy game to watch. The Bears, they're good. Like they're like 12 to 16th team in the league, but I mean, like, I feel like people think the Bears are a top 5 team in the league, and we have a bottom 5 offense. That's just not the case. That defense might carry you for a season, like it did in 2017 with the Jags when they almost went to the Super Bowl, and with, ironically, the Bears a couple of years ago when they somehow went 12-4 despite having potentially the worst quarterback I've seen play.
Hey, stop sleeping on Trubisky. Stop sleeping on my man.
I have to. I watched some of his film for old time's sake, and at this point, like, everybody knows he's bad. Don't get me wrong, Foles is much better. When I watched Trubisky's film from last year, I cannot believe he wasn't benched or traded mid-season. He was abysmal. He frankly, if the Bears had Foles last year, they probably would have gone 11-5 and made the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I think for sure, and I personally think the Bears are legit, and I think like there's always a phrase defense wins championships. I'm not saying the Bears can win the championships, but like when you have a defense that forces Brady to be so flustered as he was before, you're gonna win games. And like Tampa Bay is a top 5 team, and they just shut them down. So like the Bears defense, like their offense sure isn't good, but I think it's gonna be carried. The defense carries them. They're gonna make the playoffs, I think.
Oh, I think they will. I think they'll still make the playoffs. I don't mean to say like they're a bad team. I was saying maybe pump the brakes a little bit. I don't think they have a high ceiling week to week, but when Nick Foles will just execute the offense and not absolutely cripple your team like their last starting quarterback, that's a recipe to win games. They feel I've yet to go through the rest of their schedule, but I can see them winning 11 games and wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, let me pull up their schedule. So they're
they have yet to play the Packers twice. I can't believe the Bears are in first place in the NFC North. That just feels so wrong.
They're playing. That's a tough stretch. Wow. They're playing the Rams, the Saints, the Titans, the Vikings, the Packers, Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville, Green Bay. So that's what I could see them.
I think that's 10 to 11 wins.
Yeah, because they're gonna beat Jacksonville, Minnesota twice.
Detroit,
Houston.
No, yeah, they beat Minnesota twice. They should.
That's 5 wins, so 10-6. That's worst case scenario, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they beat the Titans.
I
don't even know if they I don't know if they beat the Rams this week. I think the Rams are still a good team, and I think they just kind of got a little out schemed by Kyle Shanahan last week, who seems to have Sean McVay's number, and like the Rams are still good. I wouldn't panic.
Yeah, I guess before we go, two things. Aaron Jones is most likely out versus the Texans. Jamal Williams, as a Packers fan, would you start him?
I would, because let me see what Jones's injury is.
It's calf strain.
He's listed as questionable for now.
Yeah, it says, let me pull up the link. It was a tweet by Ryan Wood saying Aaron Jones says he's confident to play, but the plan is for him not to play versus Texans. And he's the Packers beat writer.
Yeah, I would still start Jamal Williams, because the Texans' run defense is simply miserable. They just have no talent, which is in large part thanks to Bill O'Brien.
And as a Packers fan, is Williams good?
He seems to be even getting better, even though he's been in the league for 4 years. He just seems more explosive now. I really like him as our RB2, and I think he can shoulder the load for a few weeks if Jones can't go. He's a good receiver,
I guess just
too.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I mean, he's a good receiver too.
No, you continue.
Oh, shoot. I mean, he's a good receiver too, but as a Packers fan, I'm just excited to see what we have in our second round pick, AJ Dillon, who we drafted instead of a receiver. I bring this up every time, but like, that lack of a receiver really seemed to hurt us last week.
Yeah, and I guess the final thing, I've heard there's reports that the Saints are interested in trading from Michael Thomas. So say hypothetical trade. What do you think a hypothetical trade could be for Michael Thomas?
I don't know if the sad thing is, I don't think the Packers get him. I don't know if they have the cap space, and plus they would never they probably don't think they need Michael Thomas, which they're wrong. Michael Thomas is a top 3 receiver in the league. But I'm still processing this. I'm not entirely sure where he's going to go. With this rate, he's probably going to go to Tampa Bay anyway. And Mike Evans will be their wide receiver 4, and the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl 2 years in a row.
Yeah, what do you think they would get for Michael Thomas?
If there's like friction going on in that locker room, where I think Sean Payton referenced character concerns, because remember earlier this season he was suspended against the Chargers because he got into a beef with, I can't remember who it was, at practice.
Cornerback, I think.
Gosh, who was it?
It was some like no-name cornerback.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And if it's a trade where they're just trying to get him out of there, he's not going to fetch a haul. Though,
yeah.
It depends. If they trade him to a bad team, he might not fetch a lot. But say the Seahawks make a move for him, then
imagine the Patriots with Michael Thomas.
Oh my goodness! Don't get me started.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for listening.
Yep. Thanks for listening.